in this next one, we're missing quite a few drivers. There is a look at your intermediate classification at the moment. It is Roman Kamya who leads the way. He's had 2 wins out of 2, the only driver to have 2 wins out there, so he does lead the points ahead of Ivanikov, Martinez, Sala, Turney and Drummond. Now Filippo Sala is in this race on the front row of the grid. He joins Jenson Burnett on that front row. Jenson Burnett at this moment sits 8th in the points. But as they head out, let's fire through that full starting lineup. And as it is Jenson Burnett and Filippo Sala on the front row of the grid. Ivanikov there in 2nd in the points, starts on the 2nd row of the grid ahead of Gino Rocchio in P4. Emilio Covisto and Davide Battaro round out the top 6 on row number 3. Row 4 won't see Sebastiano Pavan. It'll be Toby Gale all on his own. Marcus Juncher and Marco Gars making it all Danish, row number 5. Zhao Zijun and Efim Dudanov go from row number 6. Clovis Nugrade and Mats Van Ruin will round out the first half of the field on row number 7.
Row number 8 includes James Anagnosiadis of Australia with Daniel Kelleher of Ireland, and then from 9 we have Alexander Chartier with Quara Fearhand. 10 will house Radek Vavra with Francois Cardel, and from row number 11 we will not have Joseph Smith, but we will have Sun Yabi. 12 will look like Paul Androtis, but he's missing, with Louis Cochet. And then from row number 13, we have Maria Neto, who made up some really good progress yesterday with a 14th place and an 11th place gain. She'll be starting alongside Hugo Marti on that 13th row. And then your final row of the grid after big dramas in qualifying, we have Jason Bralik with Jagrat Detroiter.
Indeed, so with 4 drivers missing from the grid, that means a lot of drivers at the back will have a good chance here to gain a fair few positions here, so we will keep a close eye on their progression. I've got to say, Nicole, that sun now beaming through our commentary box window certainly warmed it up in here. Air temperature slowly creeping up as well. Honestly, I do feel like this track could be dry a lot sooner than I'm seeing dry patches
line. Look at turn
on
1.
the start-finish line. Yeah, indeed. The next race could be slick tyres here, and this is drama for these drivers right now. Of course, they only get a handful of sets of wet tyres to use. This session here right now could wreck these tyres, but the Max's wet tyres are actually very good in conditions like this. They don't chew themselves apart, unlike some other kart tyres. If you go out there on a completely dry circuit or a drying circuit on a wet tyre, it could be a slick by the end of that race, but that's down to the core, and trust me, you don't want one of those tyres on board. Right then, into the tram lines. Are we racing? 4 missing drivers. Lights are up. We are racing down in towards turn number 1. It is a good start for the field there, but keep a close eye as all. Filippo Sala goes down to 3rd. He's going to try and take the outside line, trying to get the switch over here, but he's got an MP cut and is inside there of Emilio Covisto. He's denied that chance of getting through. But crucially, you can see there the Birol of holding on. Ivradikov is holding on to the 2nd place spot there, but it's all going well. Not for James Anagnosiadis. Well, no, it's not Anagnosiadis, but out of the race and spinning straight off the circuit. There is a Ricky Flynn and a Paralin.
Anagnosiadis, Anthony, is in 5th. He has jumped right up the order. No, make that 4th. So the driver that needs a good race within this one started 15th, now finds himself in the top 4. We saw one of the Ricky Flynns there found themselves on the grass. Very good job to keep that rev high, not get spinning around on that wet grass, and managed to rejoin the circuit. But we have lost the 172 out there now, will not be able to rejoin. That is Quara Fearhand that finds himself out of this race.
Indeed. Well, we'll focus on the rest of it as we go side by side across the line now in towards turn number 1. You can see the MP Motorsport machine trying to gain the positions on the Kart Republic, but it is Daniel Kelleher who holds off Emilio Covisto as they stay 6th and 7th. And I've got to say, for Daniel Kelleher, 10th place gain is on the charge here right now as he sits there in P6. Like you said, with Anagnosiadis, an 11th place gain puts him in 4th place. And this is a much better start to his day from the results he had earlier on. But he is not alone there. He has got the ASD Monster K factory team driver of Gino Rocchio currently there in P5 as they will try and push themselves forward. As, yes, we have lost a couple of drivers in this one. Marcus Juncher, and as you were talking out, the other 2 drivers were Sonia B and Hugo Marti, unfortunately, who had that drama right at the beginning of the race as well.
Burnett then still leading the way. Driver from Canada, he said in his driver interview, as we've got drama out there, is that mechanical problems for one of the MPs.
It certainly
falling
is.
down the order.
It's Emili Koivisto, unfortunately, who's had the drama, and his cart grinds to a halt, unfortunately, right in front of the entire pack of karts, all behind him. They did amazing work to try and avoid that, but he really slowed down the second half of the field there, and Emili Koivisto, despite the good start in this race, is out.
Is out of this race, but we'll go back to focusing on our front two, Burnett and Ivanikov. Burnett then said at home in Canada he's used to those low grip conditions and doing a good job so far to keep hold of things, but Ivanikov is breathing down his neck there in second because he has gone purple on that previous lap, and you can see Ivanikov looking controlled but looking like he's really pushing that Birrell round the circuit. Through turn 9 they go, that banked corner. Still, Ivanikov just taking small chunks out of Burnett now, and the gap between the two drops down to 0.2 of a second. So he's absolutely knocking on the door now to try and go for that race lead. As we've now got Zhao under investigation for potentially breaking formation at the start of this race. Anagnostiadis hasn't managed to catch up onto the back of Sala just yet. He's not on that bank bumper, but he is knocking on the door there for that third place.
He certainly is, and usually at this point I would say, oh, you know, he doesn't need to overtake, he could stay there, it's good for him. After the 2 results he's had at the start of the season, he does need to get this overtake turn. He needs to gain as many places as he can. He needs maximum points on this second half to try and really push him up the order. At this moment, he is well down in the points and not going to be a person who's going to make it into the Super Heats, let alone a final, and he's going to lose out on a smattering of points there if that is the case. But he's going to try his hardest, I'm sure, in the second half of the day. Really looking forward to see what Anagnostiadis can do. But Kelleher's now up into 5th place. He's going to be closing in on this as well. As we hold on to the lead here, Jensen Burnett this time around is looking a lot stronger after his 4th and 2nd yesterday. He is still looking for that first qualifying heat win, and you see that there, Nicole. They are cooling the tyres down. They're going off the racing line here because it is drying a lot faster than I think they realised.
Absolutely is, and I was actually looking at some of the graphs of that tyre temperature and how it fluctuates around this circuit. It's really surprising the way that the temperature drops and then peaks again around the track. As we've now got drama out there for one of the KRs, that's the 116B, that's Daniel Kelleher's kart. That is Kelleher, the driver who had got right up the order earlier on with an 11th place gain, has now had a problem out there. I don't know if he's crashed or if it's a technical problem, but Kelleher will not continue to go round within this heat. Going back then to that tyre focus, the temperature around this circuit completely different to what we saw at the turbo. It really peaks and then drops again, and like you just saw from Burnett, doing a good job to try and manage that and cool down the rubber that will start to get chewed in now because we have got that dry line forming, and Vladimir Ivanikov has caught on to that fast thinking as well and thought, that's what he's doing, that's what I need to do.
It kind of looks like he's trying to break the slipstream a little bit. This isn't Formula Racing, this is karting. There is a little bit of turbulent air, but trust me, it's not that much. And that is all down to literally they're trying to cool those tyres down on the start-finish straight. That is all that is, and still a very important one. Did get reports it was a self-inflicted moment for Daniel Kelleher, unfortunately, that sees him out of this race. For Lipo Sala, though, and James Anagnostiadis, the fight for 3rd is on. Sala has just set the fastest lap of the race. He is trying to break away from Anagnostiadis, but there is 6/7 of a second between the two of them. You can see there the stats from Anagnostiadis, where he started, where he's currently. That 11th place gain, a brilliant, brilliant start to his day after the torrid day yesterday. Yeah, absolutely is. We've got Ferrari versus Mercedes then for this P3. Like you said, James, completely different day so far than what we saw yesterday. His sister, Ava, the driver who is sporting the Tag Heuer livery this year in F1 Academy, has joined us here in Denmark to cheer her brother on for this final round of the European Championship. Currently then today, it's bringing him some good luck because completely different from what we saw yesterday after that DNF and the DSQ. But the pace between him and the driver in front is that James is faster in Sector 2. He has put in that purple in Sector 2. Dropped a bit of time through Sector number 1. Maybe that is because of the dry line forming, maybe not cooling down that tyre too much. But
But James still hunting down, and we're only halfway within this race, so there is plenty of time.
It was very kind of James to bring his sister along to a cold, wet, muddy karting paddock in Denmark.
She used to race in karting,
yeah, of course, she's used to it, but instead of a glitz and glamour paddock of an F1 paddock indeed. But, you know, that's very nice of him. But right, he's doing a good job right now. So is Ivanikov. Every time he goes into that final corner, Ivanikov looks like he's going to stick his nose down the inside, but he always struggles on the exit there. Again, that's that tighter inside line. This is where the track really does develop in terms of where is the faster racing line to go. Of course, with the dry line starting to form out there, these drivers need to think, right, do I take that normal outside racing line still and hold on to it, or do I take this one here? It's a very difficult time for these drivers, and this is where you start to see those really big movers through the field, and we are seeing that right now. Radek Vavra into the top 10 is in 9th place on a 10-place gain. Maria Neto and Hugo Marti are both on 11-place gains. Louis Cochet is on an 8th-place gain. Bralek and Troja are on a 9th-place gain right now. So again, seriously, some big movers through the field in these conditions, promote some very close racing. The track now in its drying phase is halted by the looks of it a little bit here, because the wet tyres aren't being fully utilised right now. There's not standing water out there. The wet tyres are still doing something, but they're not dispersing any water right now. But it's the worst type of conditions for a wet tyre. It's just damp, and that's what makes it a bit tricky, and that's why you're seeing them a little bit slower now. The pace is a little bit slower than what it was when it was a deluge earlier on. So showcasing that, yeah, these wet tyres not in their optimal operating window right now. Ivanikov, though, is not worried about that at all, because he's just at the fastest lap of the race, and once again piles on that pressure to Bennett in the lead.
It's not to be underestimated, though, how difficult it is for these drivers when you've got that mix of wet and dry line, because you can obviously be a bit braver on the drier line, go in later on the brake, carry more speed, but then you could hit the next corner where there is a wet line still down, and you have to still focus on getting the kart rotated before you put that power down. So getting that mix of being brave but also being smart is really important for these drivers. A really difficult thing for them to do, especially with the sun out there, Anthony, beaming down on the track. The visibility to try and suss out, you know, which bit's dry, which bit is still got that wet road on it. You know, difficult for these drivers. But Burnett and Ivanikov both doing the best two jobs out there currently. Ivanikov holding on to that purple lap for now, but Burnett has decided to turn up the volume a little bit, because has gone purple through sector number 1. Sector number 2 time belongs to Zhao Zhijun, who has broken almost into the top 5. Zhao on a 5-place charge now to try and catch up to Gino Rocchio there in 5th. The battle then between these two at the front, it's not on just yet. They are still trading a bit of paint as they head out of the second sector. And towards turn number 8, both still deciding to clip that curb, make the track shorter, but also manage to get the kart rotated through that faster section. Banked corner off at turn number 9, a really difficult one as well for these drivers to manage, as Ivanikov still just looks like he's edging closer, especially through that final sector, Anthony.
He certainly does, and we will keep guys close eye on this progression as we are nearing the end of this race. We go on to lap number 11 now of 13, as Filippo Sala in 3rd place has broken away from Anagnosiades. He has halted his attack, and I think now will settle for 4th place. Of course, I think for Anagnosiades, he's really hoping that he has a dry race later on, because you have to think about his tyres. The only positive he's got from that, he had a DNF on the opening lap in the first race. He was DSQ'd, which was also a DNF on the opening lap in his second race. He has got tyres that have only done, effectively, 2 laps than the rest of the field that have done 2 full races yesterday in dry conditions. But of course, if it stays wet, well, they're all on the same fresh, wet tyres still, so it doesn't really put him back in the ball court. But we'll see what he can do here, as there is Filippo Sala holding firm in 3rd place from the rest of the field behind. Gino Rocchio, not so much about him, he's holding firm in P5, ahead of the brilliant run from Zhao Zhijun for Prema Racing. He is there in P6 right now on a 5-place gain ahead of Davide Vitaro. Toby Gale as well, he's having a very calm race in this one. The driver from Thailand for the Birla Racing team. In his first weekend back, I've got to say, has delivered some fantastic racing so far this morning. Had a tough day yesterday, but he's put that behind him and now is feeling a lot more confident today in these wet conditions. Certainly a driver who can handle both wet and dry conditions quite significantly. But eyes on this one. Burnett still holding firm, the Canadian looking for his first qualifying heat of the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely is. Jenson then didn't expect to maybe have the pace that he has had so far. Said in his qualifying interview, it's speechless actually about that result in quali, but he's holding himself together within the racing aspect of things, has demonstrated some good composure under the pressure of Vladimir Ivanikov. As drivers further back in the field find themselves under a bit of pressure, that's Radek Vavra being pushed round by Neto, who's still on the charge with the 14th place gain. Neto now looking down the inside and trying to pull something off. Does look like she has managed to get that done. So Maria, actually one of your biggest movers throughout the entire weekend so far. It was a 14th place gain in Heat 1, 11th place gain Heat 2. And on the charge now to better that Heat 1 result currently. Final lap of things though, still led by Jenson Burnett, who's absolutely not letting off despite being on the final stages because he's put in that purple lap on the previous one. Leading from the Birol Art driver Ivanikov, still clipping those curbs, still fighting with that kart to try and get the OTK chassis babied home. Through turn at number 10 he will go. Good stuff by the Canadian driver for the Forza livery. Looks like this one for Jenson is going to be in the bag.
Certainly will be. Out of the final corner once again, trying to cool those tyres down. It is Jenson Burnett with his first win of the weekend. He will step up to second in the points with 132. It is Ivanikov there in second place with his fourth win, his third, win, and now a second. He puts himself in the lead of the points with 135. Filippo Sala third, steps up to third in the points as well with 129. Anagnosiadis with that P4 will put him on the board now, and he will need to continue that trend for the rest of the day to hopefully make sure he gets into those superheats. But his championship fight at the moment is looking very, very tough.
It's looking tough, but I don't think it's mathematically impossible. For now though, your attention and your focus has absolutely got to be on the Forza driver, Jenson Burnett. Stellar stuff from him. Adds to his tally of points to get himself into second in that intermediate classification. Remainder of your drivers outside the top 5 then include Zhao Zhijun, Davide Bataro, Toby Gale, Francois Cordel and Maria Neto, who betters her first heat result with a 14th place gain to get a 15th place gain in that race and rounds out your top 10. Radek Vavra, Clovis Nougarade, Marco Garth, Hugo Marti and Mattis van Rooyen are your top 15, and then Louis Cochet, Jensen Bralic, Efren Durinov, Sonia B and Jagrat de Troija are your remaining finishers. And we did have a number of retirements within the race then, including Daniel Kelleher,